All right, listen, this person just posted on LinkedIn how they started using Super to onboard their new sales employees, and that within 30 days, this new employee who had never actually sold SaaS ever before closed his first deal. And while they're congratulating him, I am banging my head against the wall because I'm literally like, duh, that is the whole point. That is the whole point. Now, if you did not have the same involuntary reaction that I did, stick around because we're going to talk through it. Because at the end of the day, you're either going to be like, oh shit, I'm out of a job, or you're going to be like, holy shit, Super is awesome. Why haven't we done this before? Okay. But first we need to sit back and we need to talk about the 3 levels of training. Okay. There's 3. There might be more, but I break it down into the 3 F's, which are foundational, functional, and fluency. All right. So let's start off with functional. Just kidding. Let's start off with foundational. Okay. Foundational is in the name. It is the foundation of what you are learning in order to build on top of it. Okay. It is usually like the, what is this? How does this work? How do I create a workflow? How do I make a deal? What is MedPick? All of these things that are very useful and knowledgeable for the job. Here's the problem though. This is only about 20% skill and 80% process, and they are often repeated tasks or repeated knowledge. So what ends up happening, if you are a HubSpot partner, a Salesforce partner, or a sales enablement manager, you get caught in the foundational loop, which means that you are constantly asking or answering the same questions over and over again because they are repeated things that happen over and over again. And you never can advance those people from foundational to functional, okay? So your entire job is answering simple questions of how do I do this? How do I do that? And you are caught in a loop and can never advance, okay? Again, foundational is totally needed, but it is not a representation of how much you know and how much you are able to do for your clients or able to do for your team, okay? Which gets us into level 2, functional. Now, functional is the application of that foundational knowledge, all right? It is about 50% skill, 50% process, okay? It's not just like, how do I make a workflow? It's now, how do I make a workflow that changes a marketing contact to non-marketing because they unsubscribe from our email list, okay? It is actually taking that foundational knowledge and applying it in a real world situation so that you can advance and have someone be a little more self-starting, okay? In a MedPick situation, it's not just how is MedPick, but it's, what questions do I ask when they start talking about competition or pricing to help actually get that MedPick answer that I need, okay? Application. Or functional. And here's the thing, most of your clients will always stick at functional because that is a good place to be. They're very self-starting and they never really need to go to the next level, but some of them will. The next level is fluency, okay? Fluency. There's a lot of different ways to think about this, but it is big picture. It is, can you teach this to someone else? Are you thinking big picture? In that workflow example, it is something we're like, okay, well, let's look at the entire system to understand why are people unsubscribing from our emails in the first place? Like, why do we need a workflow to do that? Because like they shouldn't be unsubscribing in the first place. It is a whole picture. It is big picture. It is forward thinking, and that is fluency. That is 80% scale and 20% process. And you very rarely will have anyone that gets to fluency. In fact, you might have people you might not even be fluent, which is totally fine. This is why a lot of people bring in consultants or coaches right at this level to help bring people really from awesome employees to outstanding employees. Now, back to that moment from before of like, of course you were able to onboard someone in 30 freaking days using Super because Super replaces your foundational trainings, all right? When we go back to, we talked about being in that foundational loop all the freaking time, okay? Super replaces that, all right? Using an action plan to onboard, using in the flow of work answers, because really what happens is you train someone how to do it, they're going to forget it, right? We only retain about, 70% in 24 hours and nothing after that. If it's not reinforced, I can't remember the exact details, or somewhere on my page. But that's the thing. You're constantly stuck in this loop because you don't have those answers readily available for your team to answer, okay? So Super replaces that, okay? With an action plan, step-by-step onboarding, they are teaching their sales reps how the process works. They're doing it by themselves, so they're not taking up any of their team members' time. And I happen to know with this particular company, when they would jump onto their training calls, it went straight into functional training. How crazy is that? Within 2 weeks, they were doing functional training, which doesn't tend to happen until month 3, 4, 5, 6. And for some people might take up to a year, okay? It meant when they were jumping on calls, it was like, hey, I know how this feature works, but why is this beneficial for our clients, okay? That's happening in week 2. Week 2, which, so good. It doesn't surprise me that they close their first deal in 30 days because that is the whole point, okay? Now, if you want to be looking at your training and trying to understand if it's foundational, functional, fluency, anything like that, that is why I created the T framework. T, train, enable, adopt, right? And it's all about how Super is the enablement platform that is going to allow you to get more time back, train more, and scale without increasing headcount, okay? But not only train more, increase without headcount, but actually making sure that your employees are able to do the work that they are meant to do and feel good and excited about that. Because guess what? While another tool might be expensive, you know what's even more expensive? A freaking sales rep that hasn't sold in months 3, 4, 5, 6 after their ramp. You know what's more expensive? Losing that sales rep and having to replace them. You know what's more expensive? Employees that don't feel supported are actually 18%. There's so much that you're missing out on because you're not giving them the tools that they need to succeed. So if you made it this far, we probably need to talk. Slide into my DMs, go to my Stand store, get the DIY Enablement Manager in a box, and let's freaking go. Let's start making your sales reps and probably you more money by enabling them to succeed faster. Okay. As always, stay awesome, stay starry-eyed, and we will chat soon.